Sometimes, the most significant statements aren't actually the loudest ones, are they?
Hmm.
That's sort of the feeling you get when you start looking into the work of Luca Soprano.
Yeah, definitely.
He's based in Vaumarcus, near Neuchâtel,
Yeah.
and maybe not a household name, but among serious collectors.
Hmm.
And within the industry, his reputation is really, really strong.
Absolutely. His Atelier 7R38, it tends to operate a bit behind the scenes, you could say.
Right.
But it's been involved in some, well, truly remarkable watchmaking projects.
Mm.
Their work covers everything from restoring old historical pieces, which is incredibly delicate,
Sure.
to developing really complex high-end movements for other brands. You see their hand in things for Jacob & Co., Messina, Lambie, and those are just the ones we know about publicly.
Oh,
A lot of what they do is kept confidential, which just adds to the mystique, I suppose.
exactly. He's been this sort of quiet force for years, lending his expertise to some big names. But now Luca Soprano is stepping out on his own with watches under the name Soprano Micromécanique Appliquée. And that name, it's a pretty clear nod to THA, Techniques Horlogères Appliquées.
Oh, absolutely. That famous early venture with Jern, Flegelet, and Holter.
Right. It says a lot about his ambitions, the level he's aiming for.
It's a very deliberate signal, isn't it? It shows this deep respect for that tradition of independent watchmaking, highly technical, beautifully finished.
Yeah.
And his first watch under this new banner, the Soprano Time, it's interesting because it looks so simple at first glance, just a classic three-hand dress watch.
Right. So for this deep dive, our goal is really to get past that simple appearance. We want to understand what makes the Soprano Time only so significant. What does it really tell us about high-end independent watchmaking right now? Okay, so let's unpack this. Starting with the name, Time Only. Very direct.
Yeah, and that directness is completely intentional. The name immediately makes you focus on the core function, the absolute basics of a watch, hours, minutes, seconds. Soprano himself said, and I'm paraphrasing a bit here, that the movement is inspired by traditional watchmaking, specifically the architecture you saw in some early 20th century tourbillon movements.
Okay, interesting. Not a tourbillon itself, though.
No, not the complication. It's about the design principles, how they showcase the mechanics back then. His idea, he says, is to highlight the movement's mechanics and structure in all its glory, but without being showy.
Right. No ostentation.
Exactly. And the attention to the finishing is extreme, but never just for demonstration. It serves the whole.
So it's like boiling the watch down to its purest form so you can really appreciate the heart of the watchmaker.
Closely.
It reminds me a bit of like perfect tailoring.
Yeah.
Understated, but the quality just screams at you without needing loud logos or anything. That less is more idea seems key here.
Totally central. And the design follows suit. It's always described as pure, minimalist, lots of focus on symmetry and clean lines.
Yeah.
You look at it and there's this immediate sense of balance. The case is 38.8 millimeter steel, polished, sloping lugs. Very classic, elegant, no extra fuss.
And the dial has this lovely subtlety, too. Two-tone sector dial, you said.
Ruthenium-plated surfaces, finely grained, then contrasted with these circular brushed metallic areas. And the small seconds at 6 o'clock just reinforces that symmetry.
Yeah, it feels very balanced.
Even the markings, the black engraved ones, they feel very considered, very restrained.
It's fascinating how these, simple-sounding elements come together to make something so sophisticated.
It really is. Take the hands, for example. They're made in-house, lance-shaped steel,
Okay.
and then they're traditionally flame blued, that deep blue color.
Ah, right, that classic technique.
Exactly. It adds a touch of warmth, a bit of visual pop, but without breaking that overall minimalist feel. It's, like the sources say, deceptively simple, elegant.
Okay, but then you turn the watch over. And that's where you really start to see the depth of Soprano's work, right?
Yeah.
We were talking about a movement where almost everything, except the case and crystals,
Yes.
is made in his own workshop, using traditional methods, mostly by hand. That level of in-house production for an independent, that's pretty significant these days.
It really is. And the movement design, the architecture, it's intentionally symmetrical. There's this large bridge that kind of highlights the main event, which is the big 12-millimeter balance wheel.
Wow, 12 millimeters, quite large.
It is. It beats at a traditional 18,000 vibrations per hour, held under this very striking black polished steel bridge. You can also see the regulating screws, a long index regulator.
For fine-tuning the timekeeping.
Exactly, for very precise adjustment.
And even the hairspring, which is so critical for accuracy.
Right, shaped and counted in-house, and it uses a Breguet terminal curve.
That special upward bend at the end.
That helps it breathe more evenly as it oscillates. It's a sign of high-quality chronometry, something you don't always see.
Okay, got it. Very high-end detail.
Yeah. And then power reserve is a solid 42 hours from a single barrel. But where the movement truly, truly shines is the finishing.
Ah, the details.
Yeah. Oh, yes. We're talking straight Geneva stripes, beautifully done. Superb anglage, that's the hand beveling and polishing of all the edges.
Which takes incredible skill.
Immense skill, and lots of black polished steel parts, polished to a mirror finish. These are all classic, traditional techniques. Very time-consuming.
I also saw something about the material choice ARC Cap P for the main plate and some bridges. That sounds interesting.
It is. For listeners maybe not familiar, ARC Cap P is this alloy.
Yeah.
It's non-ferrous, so no rust, non-magnetic, resists corrosion, very stable with temperature changes.
So basically great for a movement's long-term health and performance.
Exactly. Big
Yeah.
practical benefits. But Soprana made a specific choice here. He used a steel bridge across the balance,
Okay.
which then connects to two ARCP bridges. So there's this subtle contrast in materials, probably for looks, maybe a nod to historical construction.
Could be. Nice touch.
And then there's another lovely detail, the escape wheel cap jewel. It's set right into a steel setting. Again, it's just that level of thought.
Yeah, it's meticulous. And like you mentioned earlier, the engraving's his name, Vomarcus. The movement number, they're directly on the movement metal itself, not on separate little plates.
Right. It feels more integrated, like the movement is the canvas.
A very holistic approach to design.
Precisely. And even the strap choice, alligator, leather, simple pin buckle, it all fits. It reinforces that understated class. Like the sources say, designing a truly great, simple dress watch is hard.
It really is.
And the Soprana time only really stands out because of all these refined details.
And given how much handwork goes into every single component, the finishing, it makes sense that production is super limited. About 10 pieces a year.
Yeah, around that, it just highlights the sheer amount of time and dedication each watch represents.
Which brings us to the price. 65,000 Swiss francs. It reflects that exclusivity, that artistry, doesn't it?
It certainly does. It positions the watch not just as a time teller, but as, a serious piece of handcrafted horological art from a real master.
So wrapping up this deep dive on the Soprana time only, it's pretty clear this watch, which looks so minimalist on the surface, is actually packed with substance. It feels like a powerful statement about traditional, high-end, independent watchmaking.
Absolutely. The dedication to detail, the level of hand craftsmanship is just exceptional.
And all done with this philosophy of quiet elegance. Understated but profound.
Yeah, there's a really interesting tension there, isn't there, between how simple it looks and how complex and skilled its creation actually is.
Definitely.
It's a watch that definitely rewards a closer look. The real beauty is as much in the stuff you don't immediately see, that hidden mastery, as it is in the aesthetics.
Which leads us to a final thought for you listening out there. In a world that's often about mass production, about very overt luxury, what does this kind of commitment to old school methods, to these incredibly subtle, almost hidden details, what does that really signify? Is there maybe a deeper kind of appreciation to be found in that unseen craft, that dedication you find in pieces like the Soprana time only?
Something to think about, for sure.